welcome to the inaugural episode of the, what the fuck are we calling this? Coffee and Candor. We're on Facebooks and the Twitters. So SoundCloud, yeah. And eventually we'll have our own website. We have the technology, just not the money. So there's that.
And perhaps the motivation.
You need to actually talk into the microphone. Yeah, I know.
I don't want to talk into the microphone. Is this better? Or do I need to get closer?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. All right, so what did you say that was the family let the 11-year-old babysit the 1-year-old?
What happened was, this is like a neighborhood, like, you know, kind of a nice neighborhood from what I gather. And this one family let this mother, she was babysitting their 1-year-old boy, and for whatever reason, she had to run an errand. And she left the 1-year-old in the sole care of her 11-year-old daughter. And
you didn't say it was a girl.
Oh, of her 11-year-old, not the family.
Right.
Okay.
The babysitter's 11-year-old daughter. And
oh, dear God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I don't know how long she was gone. They said it was just a quick errand. But when she got back, the baby was in distress. And she basically beat him to death. I mean, he died of his injuries, not right away, but he did die.
So that begs the question then.
Who's really responsible? I mean, obviously.
Well, yeah. Because the mother is ultimate, or whoever the babysitter
babysitter,
the babysitter is ultimately responsible.
Well, she's responsible for leaving the child in care of an 11-year-old.
But how many times? I mean, you would think that an 11-year-old would be mature enough to know don't beat the baby,
right?
I mean,
and they've said that this girl had acknowledged. I mean, it was a known thing that she had anger issues.
Oh, wow.
So
that's what I was going to ask you that.
You have to know your own child, too.
Yeah.
Did the mother not know that?
But, right. I mean, they did know that. That's the thing.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, I can't talk without using my hands. But they did know that. I mean, and so as a parent, you have to know your own child. I mean, there are some 11-year-olds that probably could have been safely left for 20 or 30 minutes with a baby. Clearly, this one was not. And
yeah,
I mean,
no shit.
I think maybe leaving it with the baby or leaving the child with the 11-year-old, I still don't know about being completely gone off the premises and 11-year-old. Because what if there had been just a natural emergency, maybe choke or something like that?
Right.
Most 11-year-olds are not equipped to deal with that and shouldn't be put in that position. But if you have a disturbed 11-year-old,
and I think if your kid is going to do that, I think disturbed is a mild understatement.
Well, right. I mean, clearly the kid has issues, but I don't understand how you raise your kid for 11 years and not know your kid has issues. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
I get that it's not comfortable to acknowledge, but when you leave it in charge of another person's child, and
can you imagine being the baby's fucking parent and coming home and what the fuck happened?
Yeah, I mean, he was just, I think, like 4 or 5 days past his first birthday.
Oh my God.
I can't even imagine. That makes me sick.
I dare say there'd be a couple of ass whoopings handed out for that.
There'd be more than an ass whooping because I'd be in prison. I mean, that's a given. But on the one hand, I feel really bad for everybody involved because, I mean, obviously the little boy's parents didn't do anything wrong. They got a babysitter for their kid. I mean, that's,
one that they thought was going to be responsible.
They got an adult babysitter for their kid. So,
well, to me, that was irresponsible. The adult.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
And the question is right now is, are there going to be charges filed against the 11-year-old's mother? And I think there should be.
I think there should be.
Yeah.
And I think the 11-year-old should have counseling.
The 11-year-old needs more than counseling.
No,
I think the 11-year-old needs to be locked up in a facility of some kind.
I get that, but not prison.
No.
Well, there are no prisons for 11-year-olds.
They don't traditionally have 11-year-olds in Gen Pop, but
clearly this is not a child that can just be out and amongst others.
Yeah, but I mean, you at 11 years old, I'm pretty fucking sure that every 11-year-old that's reasonable knows that killing and beating a baby to death is probably wrong.
Right. I mean, we were all 11-year-olds once, and I mean,
just for a year though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you also knew. I mean, I still had a very developed sense of compassion and empathy at 11-year-old. I remember. I mean, like, my dogs would get hurt, and I would like doctor them, and so an 11-year-old, what's right and what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's clearly this child's mentally ill, which is unfortunate and sad, but it doesn't
excuse that behavior.
No, and clearly this kid, I mean, and that begs a question, like, what do you do with someone like that? Can they ever be part of society? I don't understand how you fix that. If you're that fundamentally broken.
Well, that's like, was it United Kingdom that the young boy beat the little boy like years ago?
Oh, the one where
80s.
they shoved the batteries up his ass.
Yeah, and I mean,
that was really wrong. I shouldn't have said that like that. But you know what I mean. And that's what
they really let them out and gave them new identities and all that.
They're like under their version of WITSEC. Mm-hmm. Like they have new identities, and nobody they prosecuted people that had leaked information about the new identity.
Pictures of them. And
are you familiar with this, Kate?
No.
Okay.
It was back in the 80s.
It was back in the 80s.
And they were younger than 11, I believe, weren't they? The ones that did it?
9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, no. See, if you are 9 or 10 years old and at that age, you're so fundamentally fucked that you think doing that to another person is okay.
It was several of them.
It was 3
and the
boys.
Kid was like, what, 3 or 4 or something like that?
Is that the one where they this is going to be horrible, where they chopped his fucking fingers off and shit?
He was on the train tracks, and I know they sodomized him. I know they put batteries in his anus. They lured him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All 3 of them should be in some facility until they die.
Forever?
Yeah.
Yes, I think
fucking
so.
forever.
Okay.
You don't rehab from that's not like, something happened in their life and we've just got to help them cope with it. No, they're fucked up.
Well, okay, so at the same time,
they were born broken, and you can't fix that.
This 11-year-old girl,
same situation.
But I also think the mother should be held accountable.
Oh, absolutely.
She absolutely should. But the mother didn't beat that kid to death.
No, she didn't. I mean, but she
needs to be charged with
negligence. I could see.
Absolutely.
Maybe manslaughter.
Even, I don't think so, but maybe endangering the welfare of a minor. Because
she knew how her child was,
right?
And
that's where the problem.
The baby with that child.
Yeah. Maybe negligent homicide. I would go with that.
I would go. I don't think murder because she didn't commit the act.
It wasn't premeditated.
No,
of course not.
It was just really, really horrible judgment.
It was criminally horrible judgment.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to admit that maybe their kid's not okay. We're all parents here. We know that, that's just an uncomfortable truth you might have to face.
It is, but if you know that your kid exhibits dangerous behavior,
you have a greater responsibility.
At that point,
yeah, there's a difference between dangerous behavior and questionable dumbass choices.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I'm guilty of questionable dumbass choices.
I'm sure I've made some today, but the thing is, you just like you said, you know that kid, and there's something fundamentally different between, I don't want to admit that maybe my kid isn't as smart as I thought he was.
Right.
And, oh my God, my kid fucking kills people. There's a big difference.
You can't tell me that there wasn't a history
of
animal abuse with this kid.
Yeah.
There had to be huge signs.
And they turn into serial killers.
Yeah, exactly.
They do. And
what I'd like to know is the boys in the UK, they were given new identities to protect them from the public.
Right. It was not to protect the public. It was to protect them.
I would like to know, have they committed any violent crimes in their new identities?
That brings up another
you wouldn't know.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I would like to know that.
Because I bet in their version of witness protection, if they do something like that, they're probably covering it up so motherfuckers won't ask questions.
Well,
but that brings up another thing.
Because the last thing you want is some uppity cop, actually doing his job and uncovers, these kids are the ones that did this.
All right, here we go. James Patrick Bulger, he was 3 years old. He was born in March 1990. He was murdered February of 93. Was a boy from Kirby, Merseyside, England.
So he wasn't even 3 years old.
No, and he was abducted, tortured, and killed by 2. It was 2 10-year-old boys. They were both 10.
And they didn't lure him anywhere. They abducted him.
Well,
they took him by the hand and led him away.
That's abduction, though.
Well, it is, but they lured him. From what
they may have tricked him into not crying.
Right. They soothed him and made him think that they wanted to play with him, and
they were friends.
Yeah. And
see that's a whole nother level of evil because
that's manipulative.
That's premeditated.
That's absolutely
evil. Because
they led him away from a shopping center. His mom he was out with his mom. She just took her eyes off of him, as we've all done. And in that moment, they saw their chance and they led him away.
So they were following them.
Mm-hmm. They obviously had to stalk that baby to get him. He was 10 years. They were both 10 years old.
She was laughing at me. She wasn't laughing at this atrocious
I was just
story.
Trying to figure out how far I actually hit the mic from.
Right.
Yeah,
I was trying to measure.
And I was actually doing the Madonna Vogue thing.
Yeah, I'm okay. Their punishment was
not severe enough.
Well, there is no. Let's face it. There is nothing you can do.
They globally tend to frown on putting kids to death, but I think if they didn't, those three kids would be prime candidates.
2 kids. There were two 10-year-old boys.
Yeah, I think they should be on the
They
short
know
list.
for sure that those were the boys that did it because they were seen on CCTV images leading him away from a shopping center. Let's see.
Oh, wow.
All right.
That sounds like a fucking cinder block.
Boom, boom.
It was a brick.
They took him 2 miles from the shopping center.
Oh, wow.
And I'm looking at a picture of them holding his hand and leading him away, and that makes me sick inside. 38 people saw them walk across the city with this child, but they claimed he was their younger brother. And
nobody would question that.
Right. No. Or they told some people that he was lost and they were taking him to the police station. They took him to an...
wow, that was definitely...
Oh, it was absolutely
that was definitely premeditated.
They took him to an abandoned railway station, which was also close to a police station, where they tortured and murdered this child. A pathologist later said that there were so many injuries, 42 in total, that they could not isolate the injury that caused his fatality.
Oh, Jesus.
They found the kids from low-resolution video images, and someone recognized...
his clothing or something.
Recognized one of the boys,
oh my
like a neighbor or something. She contacted the police and they were arrested. They were tried as adults for the abduction and murder of James because they were over 10. And in Great Britain, apparently, that is the age where you can assume criminal responsibility.
Yeah, but are they still in prison now? Or are they
No,
out?
they're out now.
They're out. That's what I thought.
See, I don't understand that. That was first degree murder. They didn't go get this kid thinking, oh well. It's not like they stumbled across him and they were like, "Oh, hey, let's kill him." You know,
No,
they had this planned out.
They obviously went looking for a child to lure him away from his mom in a crowded shopping center, to take him 2 miles away.
Well, talking about this...
Okay, this is chilling. A police officer remembered that Venables, one of the killers, was so small. After they arrested him, he was sitting in the chair and his feet didn't touch the floor, but yet he was that young and that capable of that kind of evil. That's
I
chilling.
guess his feet wouldn't have touched the floor in the electric chair either.
But I mean, that's just chilling. I mean,
I have a hard time believing now they're out, new identities, they're not doing
right.
something.
I mean, if you're that fundamentally flawed, by the time you're 10 years old, if you're that broken...
How old were they when they were released?
Let's see. In 99, it was ruled that they didn't receive a fair trial. And
a fair trial? I bet that fucking kid didn't receive a fair trial either when they fucking sentenced him to death.
Lawyers for the pair argued that the adult court venue and publicity made it impossible for the schoolboys to be given a fair trial.
Oh, really? Are they supposed to have a jury of their peers?
Yeah.
But then in 2001, a 6-month review by their parole board said that they were no longer a threat to public safety.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They were released on life license, and somebody needs to look up exactly what that means in Great Britain, after serving, get this, 8 years for what they did to this child.
Well,
oh my God.
Talking about this reminded me of something because I
oh,
was
wait a
pretty
minute.
sure...
Well, no. Wait, just a minute. I'm sorry. In March 2010, Venables, this is a little son of a bitch who was too short for his legs to hit the ground,